Welcome back to Live at Five with SFC Defined. I'm Corey. Glad you could join me today. Literally glad you could join me today. I appreciate you so much. We have to talk about some stuff today. We are actually coming to an end of another month. Can you believe it? This is month four already in 2023, and these months are flying by. But this month we have allocated all of our time to talking about getting spiritually connected, and that's a connection on a deeper level outside of physical connecting or job placement connecting or neighborhood connecting. And I'm talking about just really getting to know um, getting to know who you are. And I don't think that you can quite fully connect with anybody on a spiritual level until you know who you are on a spiritual level. Okay. And that means you have to define who you are. And so that's what we want to spend our time talking about today, is making sure you know who you are. There are so many ways that we connect with people. And like we've stated before in the past Sundays, um, we look for connections because certain connections brings us a sense of security. Think about where you are in life, wherever you go, like on your job. There are certain people that you connect with on your job. We look for different traits, we look for different attributes, we look for different characteristics in other people that reminds us of who we are. As a matter of fact, it has been said that we are the sum total of the five closest people in our lives. So think about that. In your neighborhood, there are certain neighbors that you have that you don't probably even know, but then there are other neighbors that you connect with. If you're in school, think about the connections that you form in school. Think about the connections that you form in church. We think that everybody in church is spiritual, and the reality is they're not. So we form connections with people, and we form them not based off of spirituality, but we form them based off of religious beliefs, religious critiques, religious judgment, religious biasness. All of that stuff is how we form our connections. We form connections based off of how people dress, what they say, what they think. Do they believe like I believe? But we spent this time talking about a spiritual connection, and I want you for a moment just to think about how many people that you are really deeply connected with on a spiritual level. Chances are it is very, very few people that you connect with on a spiritual level. And when you connect with someone on a spiritual level, these are connections that go past your beliefs. These are connections that allow you to be you, while at the same time you allow those people to be who they are as well. There is a spiritual connection. There is something there that supersedes religion, something there that supersedes your connecting because we think alike. There's something more there that supersedes all of that. And that's that spiritual connection. It's almost like you having a closeness with somebody. And I'm not talking about an intimate closeness. I'm talking about just a spiritual connection. For example, when you are spiritually connected, I think that I could be thinking about you, and I hadn't talked to you in 2 or 3 days, and then all of a sudden my phone rings or I get a text and it's you. That's being connected on a spiritual level. They're called, in our world most of the time, they're called coincidences, but on a spiritual level they're called synchronicities. And it's how God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, and how your spirit connects. And you can be in a completely different state, a completely different town, completely different time zone. And somehow or another, that spiritual connection that you have with that person, it makes you guys think. That happens to me quite often with people that I am spiritually connected to. I could be sitting thinking, like, I wonder how they're doing. Oh, I don't want to bother them. I know they're at work. I know they're probably busy. I'll get to it. I'll give them until later on that night. And then before I could get the thought out of my head, there's a text or there's a phone call with that person. And I think that that's the kind of spiritual connectedness that we need in our lives, where you've got people that will allow you to be unapologetically you, that will allow you to fail and mess up and be there to help you get back up. They will allow you to have good days and bad days. There are no pretentiousness when it comes to spiritual connectedness. It is literally that bond that you share, somebody that you can be unapologetically you about. So I really want to hear from you today. I really want to hear what your thoughts have been as we've talked about spiritual connectedness this month. We tend to go into some things, and I want to make sure that we connect and just talk about this, because I want to make sure you guys are getting this. Derek, hey, thank you for joining me. Appreciate you so much. Catherine and Alberta, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Let me hear your thoughts about your experiences of spiritual connection, your reservation about being spiritually connected, or whether or not you've learned something over the course of these last 3 to 4 weeks. I'm just curious, because I really have found in my life that getting to know myself first opened me up to more sound friendships and relationships, which means that I have become more apt to make spiritual connections and not just have people around me for the sake of not being by myself. And I think that that is so many of our downfall, is that we just allow random people, just because they dress like we dress or talk like we talk, or think we settle for people just to have company, as opposed to trying to get deep with someone. There has to be some mental stimulation, and that's not even with just, again, with an intimate or romantic relationship. It is with any type of relationship, any type of friendship. I think that our intent for everybody that we allow in our lives, especially people that we try to get close to, I think it should be our intent that we try to connect on a spiritual level. The Bible says it to some degree like this: know them that labor among you, and know their spirit, and you should try the spirit by the spirit. Those are two different, scriptures that I believe that will tie in and help you realize that there is power in being spiritually connected. There is girth. There is so much power in just being spiritually connected with somebody. And that spiritual connection can be so deep that you guys can go weeks or months, even years, without speaking to each other. And when you guys come back together, all of a sudden it's like you've never lost any time. It's literally just as if you've not lost any time. And I think that that should be our number one priority when it comes to forming relationships to people. Spiritually connected people, they are more sympathetic, they're more apathetic, and not apathetic, empathetic. They're more comforting, they're more supportive. All of these things, when there is a spiritual connection, that tends to be a relationship or friendship that lasts a lifetime. And I really believe that we mess ourselves up in so many different ways when we just settle for being connected with somebody outside of a spiritual connection. I mean, for example, you mess yourself up mentally because you don't trust them, and They don't trust you. You mess yourself up emotionally. They hurt your feelings. They hurt your pride. They hurt all of these things, physically, even when there is some type of connection outside of a spiritual connection, um, that I think is so important. It's so important, and I encourage you. You guys are sort of quiet today. I appreciate you listening, but I really would love for you to engage. You know, if you got any questions about this or comments, please type them in, and we'll talk about them. We're also trying to do something real quick while it just popped up in my head. We're also trying to do something where we can do like a Zoom on this with people, and you're able to come on and we can talk face to face via Zoom, and get your questions asked and answered, and go from there. Also, real quick, while I'm thinking about it, because I may forget, don't forget, starting the first Sunday in May, we will be starting our live at 2 o'clock. We're going to go from 5 to 2. So we'll send out flyers to remind you, but I just want to do that. So what are your thoughts? Give me your thoughts about what it's like to be spiritually connected. Have you ever had a spiritual connection with someone? That's how we can start this whole communication piece. Like, do you ever feel like have ever had a spiritual connection with somebody? And I think it's key. I don't think that you can be spiritually connected with another person if you don't know who you are. Being spiritually connected takes you into a deeper understanding of that person. Again, I'll tell you that being spiritually connected, there is more compassion, there's more understanding, there's more empathy, there's more just support, all of that stuff. So have you ever had anybody in your life that you felt like you were spiritually connected to? And I don't say that as past tense, I say that as present tense, because most of the time, if you ever spiritually connect with somebody, they're not just in your life for a month or 6 months or a year. They're usually there, for a lifetime. Okay, so I'm going to take that as you guys have, and we're going to keep it moving, because I want to bring out one more point, and then I'm going to bring this to a close, and I'm going to wrap it up. But one of the things too, I think a lot of times we think when we say spiritually connected, we're thinking about the Spirit of God, and we're talking about that. Again, that spiritual connectedness happens on that spiritual piece of you. It's not a physical anything. It's literally a piece. Thank you, Denise. Denise says, yes, I've been spiritually connected. So thank you so much. When you are spiritually connected, you're connected on that higher plane, that higher level, like that God level. It's like I told you before. I think I told you last week that there's a saying, there's a custom in the Indian culture, that the one word that says namaste, and namaste means I recognize the divine in you. And when we recognize the Spirit of God or the divine in other people, and we know there is a formation of spirituality among you and that person that transcends anything that you've ever experienced. You know, there are people that I have met, and we instantly connected spiritually. And even though we don't talk every day, even though we don't see each other all the time, there is such a spiritual connection. Like, I literally could pick up the phone and be like, hey, what's going on? How are you? And we just go right into it. You know, I picked up in my spirit that you were so-and-so. Everything okay? Everything good? And they're like, man, it's funny that you should call, because this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. So there are people like that in my life. And I think that when you talk about that spiritual piece, again, it has to first start with you. If you are not spiritually connected with you and the Spirit, there's no way that you can connect with the Spirit of somebody else. Okay, so it starts with you. It starts with you loving on yourself, understanding yourself, having that compassion. If you can't show it to yourself, you can't show it to anybody else. If you don't see yourself on a higher plane, you won't ever meet anybody else on a higher plane. There's always going to be that physical connection, and those physical connections, financial connections, all of that stuff, they can lead to a lot of hurt. They can lead to a lot of pain. They can lead to a lot of frustration and anxiety. But when you are spiritually connected, like that stuff doesn't exist because you know who you are. You're confident in who you are. And so is that person as well. So I encourage you guys, find those spiritual connections. They may be completely the opposite of who you would actually connect with. Because again, it's not about the physical, it's about the spiritual. And, you know, especially if you're looking to be in a relationship, a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, I encourage you to go deeper than just that physical attraction. Go deeper than that. You know, if something happens and that physical attraction is messed up or tainted, then what do you have left? You know, so I encourage you, if you are looking for an intimate relationship, or if you're just literally looking for somebody to kick with, go deeper. And the way that you do that is you've got to find yourself first. You have to love on yourself, and everything that you are giving other people or trying to give other people, you first have to give it to yourself. So you make sure that you are able to offer something, especially when you're looking for a spiritual connection. All right. So that's it for me today. Don't forget, the first Sunday in May, we will start at 2:00, and that will be our time going forth. I'll meet you at 2:00. What was the other one? What did I just say? What was the other thing that I just said? Remind me of? Anyway, I forgot. Don't forget, 2:00. 2:00. Okay. Denise, stop. Crystal, hey, Crystal. Yeah, we have, oh yeah, Zoom. Thank you. So we're trying to set up a Zoom. Thank you, Alberta. We're trying to set up a Zoom where we can see each other, and we can do all of this on Facebook. We're finding out things, and we can do it all on Facebook, to where those of you that really want to be a part of the show, you're able to, your face is able to be seen. You can type up, and we can have some good old conversation, and y'all have to listen to me talk this whole time. I hope you guys are learning something. It is my pleasure to be able to come to you. The readings that I do and the information that I gather, this is not something that I am encouraging you guys to do. It is something that I am encouraging you to do because I've already done it. And I know that it's worked for me. And I know that if it works for me, it can work for you too. So I encourage you to, let's delve deeper. Next week, we're going to close out getting spiritually connected, and we'll come up with a brand new topic for May. If there's some things that you want to talk about, put it in my DM. You can do it on the SFC Facebook page, or you can do it on the Corey Graves Facebook page. My team will make sure they get it to me, and we will just come up with stuff that you guys want to talk about. And, you know, there's so many things that we can literally talk about. So if you got some ideas, please just shoot them to me in the DM. Thank you for what God asked you to do. Thank you so much, Denise. I really appreciate y'all. I get great pleasure. You guys teach me and you guys help me, because it was said that the only way that you know that you've learned something is if you're able to teach it. And so me being able to teach it to you solidifies the fact that I've learned the stuff that I believe God is pouring into me. And as he pours into me, I want to pour into you guys, because we're going to make the world a better place, one person at a time. All right. You guys have a phenomenal rest of the day. Have a phenomenal week. I love you guys, and we'll see you next Sunday at 5:00, our last live at 5 show. The rest of the time we'll be meeting at 2. Take care.